Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we're here and we're ready for another episode of the Racing Debrief. I do want to quickly just, apologize everybody for there not being a episode of the Racing Debrief from last week. Um, I was definitely sick last week. Wasn't feeling 100%, as you may have seen throughout videos throughout the week before this. Wasn't feeling great. And then I stayed up for 24 hours. Went to a Apple festival, I guess, is what it was. I was half asleep. Went to that, came home, fell asleep. Woke up, watched the races, and then had to get to recording for some of the other videos for the week. So we missed out on the Racing Debrief last week. But we're back, and we're going to talk about some of the racing action from this week and what we've seen in those races, then give a preview of the championship for all three NASCAR series. But first, let's start with F1 before we dive into our NASCAR content. Just going to quickly touch on it a little bit. Kind of had both NASCAR and F1 going at the same time. Because the NASCAR race started at 2, F1 started at 4 o'clock, and they ended about in a similar time. So I had them both going. So F1 was kind of just going on my computer, so I didn't really get to hear the audio of it, but I was definitely watching it as it went along. I mean, right away, Checo crashing out. I'm be honest, I kind of enjoyed it. Just from the fact that it adds more to the case that Checo's not him. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of the Red Bull team. Right? That's what I want to say. I want to see the Red Bull team do well. But when there's a driver on the team that's not performing well, I want to see them not to be there. And I also think that there's a level of disrespect that the Checo fans give to Max when it's like, it's a team effort. Let's support both the drivers, right? And it's sort of to a point where I don't really care what Checo does, because he's only hurting the team. Whether it's through his fans saying ridiculous shit about the team, or his performance in general, that there will be a time that if other teams do catch Red Bull, that his lack of performance will be a problem, right? And I'm kind of over it, and I've been over it for a while, and going to this race, I was hoping for nothing more than being over it even more. And I think that last week we didn't get to talk about it, but at the U.S. Grand Prix, the lack of respect that the Checo fans showed during the podium celebration, for me, was a big yikes. I don't really care if you boo a driver, right? I think that's part of sports, and I think saying, oh, booing a driver is bad is dumb, right? There's drivers who are going to like and drivers people don't like. I mean, I've always been a fan, I feel like, of drivers that aren't the most popular. And, I mean, if you're watching this for the NASCAR portion of it, I'm going to have a Ty Gibbs hat, right? I mean, I'm not here for the most popular driver. I feel like in NASCAR, Kevin Harvick hasn't always been the most popular. So, I don't care about the popularity of the driver. I just want to root for who's good, right? Who I think's good, who I'm a fan of. And if you don't like that driver, you don't like a person, you can boo them, you can say whatever, right? I mean, I just feel that's in general part of sports. You're going to show your dislike for someone that you don't like. And I just got the message that my brother has seen it. He had to wait for his girlfriend to watch it with him. But I just get the message that says Checo OMG. So he must have just seen it. But again, if you want to boo a driver, you don't like a driver, that's fine, right? I'm cool with that if you boo Max is doing his interview. Doesn't matter to me. Don't care. The thing for me that I find the most disrespectful about it is during the podium, country's anthems are playing. Right? Let's respect it. Dutch anthem is playing. Austrian anthem is playing. It's a moment for the drivers on the podium after the race to get recognized for their performance and, again, playing the anthems of the winning drivers, country, and the winning constructor. So, just respect that, and for them to start chanting Checo during it, I felt was the disrespectful part of it. Again, when it comes to booing somebody, the Checo fans, they want to boo Charles Leclerc at the end. Again, I feel like in that scenario, if anything, it's a racing incident. I mean, Max on the inside, Leclerc's in the middle, Perez sends it on the outside. He should have backed out, if anything. If anything, it's on Checo. If anybody's getting the blame, I'm going to put on Checo. But, I feel like it was a racing incident. I don't think anybody did anything wrong. But I feel like for the fans to just say, nah, Leclerc did it, you're wrong, and boo him, I think that he was sort of surprised by it when he walked up and got booed in the interview, but whatever. That's what happens. But yeah, I just feel like I'm ready for Checo to leave the team, and hopefully the fact that Daniel Ricciardo qualified in front of him in an AlphaTauri and scored points, and solid points, only adds to the fact of it. Get Daniel Ricciardo in the Red Bull, get Checo to anywhere that's not Red Bull at this point. That's my take. In other things, though, Max getting his 16th win of the year. Incredible stats. He's also got the most laps led now in a season, which that one's really cool. Because a lot of the stats you got to put in perspective of percentages, right? If you want to compare what drivers did 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, you got to put percentages on it, right? You got to say they did this percent, because if you did something in the 60s, you had 10 races, whatever, right? You did something in the 90s, you had 17 races. You did something in 2010s, you had 21. You do something now, you have 23, 22, 23, right? So that number increases. But what Max did, he broke the record that Sebastian Vettel had for laps led in the season, but in less races. You didn't have to put that in perspective and percentages. It's just, he beat a record that didn't require more races, right? It wasn't like he came out here and led that many laps, but it took him 23 races. He did it in 16. Sebastian Vettel did it in 17. So, I don't know. I think that it's, or whatever, Max has done it in 17 and Vettel did it in 18 or something like that. I don't know. Whatever the numbers were. In that range, though. Max did it in one less than what Vettel did, which is just impressive. But again, 16 wins in a season. Again, that's when you got to put into percentages of what's that in the year overall. Because again, winning 16 races now, granted, super impressive. He's only lost 3. But when you get to those higher numbers, it's sort of like, okay, where do you get to that point? But again, he's still at a point that he hasn't gotten those wins into the range that wasn't possible before. Right? Michael Schumacher could have won 16 races in a season. It wasn't out of the realm of possibility. Something he could have done, he just didn't. So, I still think it's very impressive. Alright, let's move on to our NASCAR portion of the video. And the main thing we're going to just talk about, Xfinity Series race at the end. I think that was the controversial part of the race. I thought the Xfinity race overall was brilliant. I think that that car at that track is awesome. It kind of shows what we're missing with the next gen car. I feel like you watch that Xfinity race on Saturday, you watch the Cup race on Sunday, and the Cup race really lacked some of that action. I think that we've gotten to a point. It was a little better with the tire. I think that's helped. But when you look at that Xfinity race, there was contact. It was very aggressive. But again, there was contact. The cars were everywhere. You could pass, move people out the way. The next gen car kind of felt just like it was there, right? And again, I think that shows the racing they used to get at Martinsville, right? Because the Xfinity car is essentially what the 6th gen NASCAR was, what 5th gen was, right? It's that combination. The NASCAR 6th gen Cup car was a car tomorrow chassis with a different body on it. So that's essentially what you're getting, right? You're getting that racing, which was good with the car tomorrow, which was good with the 6th gen car at short tracks. People loved it. The issue that car had was on 1.5 miles, which when you look at it, Xfinity maybe isn't as good at 1.5 miles. I mean, it's still solid, but it's maybe not as good as the Cup race. So, I mean, honestly, if you could do like a mix, get both for the Cup Series, get the best of both. Put the Xfinity car or that body style on short tracks, road courses, whatever. Get this Cup car on 1.5 miles, so you're great. But either way, I thought the Xfinity race was brilliant. There was awesome racing throughout the whole field. It was one of those races I was like, damn, that's a classic in my mind. You come to the finish, of course, there's a lot of discussion going into the race, the Martinsville and elimination races. What were you going to do? To win it. Obviously, last year, Ty Gibbs went into the corner and took out his teammate, which was an interesting race, to say the least. But this, were we going to see the same thing? Were we going to see teammates take each other out? Yes, basically. Sheldon Creed and Austin Hill haven't necessarily felt like got along the best as teammates, especially this year. I think last year it wasn't terrible, but this year for some reason there just hasn't been a great relationship between them. And I think that really came out in that race. I think that you get to a point where your goal for both drivers is to advance. Austin Hill didn't need to win the race. Sheldon Creed did. I feel Sheldon Creed did what he had to do. He went in the corner, moved Austin Hill slightly. Austin Hill tried to get him back, and they both lost. They both lost. That's simple. Sheldon Creed went in and made a little contact. Austin Hill tried to get him back, went to the next corner. Creed's like, you're done. You're getting sent. Pushing up the track. Hill tries to get back at him. Going to turn 3 and 4. Creed pushes Hill up again. Gets by him. Slows down a little bit in the corner. Could it have been a brake check? Could have just been trying to get the perfect exit? Who knows? Allgaier gets there. Hill hits the back of Creed and ruins his car. And Hill causes the massive pileup behind him. And, it wasn't great for Richard Childress Racing. They had neither car in the championship 4. And, that's what you get the result of that race. The reaction to it afterwards, I think, showed a lot of people the way that Richard Childress Racing operates when they're favoriting of drivers, which has sort of been a known thing for that team forever. They've always favored a driver significantly. And, I think that it's not great look as a team in that scenario, especially when you're like getting rid of a driver and you just like completely criticize them like they did. Austin Hilton, I'm glad he's leaving and going to Joe Gibbs Racing. Pretty much that was almost known, but that all but confirms it. But yeah, just his reaction to it. Andy Petrie coming up being super mad at Sheldon Creed about it on the pits, the way he handled it, yelling at him when there's nobody from the team around Sheldon Creed. That wasn't handled well. Richard Childress at the end saying Sheldon Creed is the dumbest driver he's ever had. Also, terrible look considering Austin Dillon races for him. But, yeah. Is the whole thing. I feel like as a team owner coming out saying your driver's the dumbest driver you ever had, when they're still on your team, looks real bad. If you said it 20 years later, be like, alright, that's kind of dumb, but sure. But to say it about a driver that's leaving your team, not a good look. Yeah. Seems like a pretty toxic environment, to be honest. That's for sure. Pulled my new water bottle. Hasn't been seen on camera yet. What's good? But yeah, just overall, not great. Cup race, jump to that. Kind of boring, to be honest. Again, better than Martinsville was before. They were getting a little bit better at the short tracks, but yeah. It was a race. It was one of the NASCAR races this year, basically. That's the best way to describe it. Most of the time, everybody kind of stayed in the same spot. You had Blaney, Hamlin. Truex still had a speeding penalty. Ty Gibbs was there for about half until he got yeeted by Joey Logano. It was pretty much those four running around the top. Chase Briscoe was there for a little bit. Nothing really changed. Truex got a penalty. Gibbs got sent. But, yeah, Blaney, Hamlin, they were there basically the whole race. Denny Hamlin did not advance to the championship 4. Neither did Martin Truex, regular season champion. Tyler Reddick and Chris Buescher. Again, drivers like Truex and Hamlin, victims of the system that we have. You have one bad race in a round and you're fucked. Essentially. In the matter of 3 minutes, not even, both of those drivers' seasons essentially ended at Homestead. With the power steering issue that Hamlin had sent him in the wall and out, and Truex with the engine. Within 2 laps of each other. That was it. Hamlin had to really win that race or have something happen to Byron, and Byron was just good enough. Byron was not good at all, but good enough to advance through that round, through that race. He was 20th the whole time, but just enough. Every move through the field that Hamlin made, Byron's didn't make his way up. Cars would pit. Hamlin would get by him. Or Hamlin would get by him, the car would pit. Byron would get by him. So they couldn't get that gap. And at the end, I was surprised there wasn't a caution. If there was a caution, I think Hamlin would have fucking sent it. Took out everybody. But, we didn't get that. So let's preview Championship 4. I'm going to pull out my phone here. Let's go take a look at who is in the Championship 4s. So, first of all, let's do the Truck Series. Going into Homestead, we're going to Phoenix, not Homestead. We should be going to Homestead, but it's for another conversation. Looking at who is in, you have Corey Heim, Carson Hocevar, Ben Rhodes, and Grant Enfinger. Stats for each driver, we'll go through that. Corey Heim, 3 wins, 12 top 5s, 3 poles, 7 stage wins. Very impressive season. especially after missing one race. Carson Hocevar, 4 wins, 11 top 5s, no poles, and 3 stage wins. Ben Rhodes, 1 win. Hit a win this year? 6 top 5s and 1 stage. When the hell did Ben Rhodes win? And then Grant Enfinger, 3 wins, 9 top 5s, 1 pole, and 3 stage wins. Yeah, when did Ben Rhodes win a race? I know I missed a race. Oh, he won Charlotte? I have zero recollection of that. Listen, I can remember the Cup winners. When it gets to trucks and some Xfinity races, I don't remember them all. Especially this year for trucks. So this year has been my year of not as interested in the trucks. I mean, based on who should win, Corey Heim's been the best driver in the series. If you look at the Winston Cup points, I know that's a thing that people like to talk about. People look at that on Twitter lots of times. Corey Heim would have been the champion 3 weeks ago. I mean, consistent. He's been there. Raced well. Should be the champion. Carson Hocevar, most wins of any of these drivers. When you look at it. Again, they're all pretty much even in top 5s. Corey Heim, Carson Hocevar, 12 and 11. Grant Enfinger not far behind with 9. Ben Rhodes is where it falls off a little bit more with 6. Ben Rhodes is kind of the guy that I feel like kind of snuck in there. But, I mean, he can definitely pull up and get the win. I mean, anybody has to win Phoenix and you're good. The driver I want to see win it, though, is Grant Enfinger. I think it'd be brilliant if he won. So, let's lock it in. My championship pick for the Truck Series, Grant Enfinger. Moving on to the Xfinity Series. All right. Drivers in that, you have Seb Mayer with 4 wins, 12 top 5s, 1 pole, and no stage wins. Justin Allgaier, 4 wins, 14 top 5s, 3 poles, and 13 stage wins. And then you have John Hunter Nemechek, 7 wins, 17 top 5s, 2 poles, and 10 stage wins. And I actually seen him win one of those 7 wins in New Hampshire this year. And then you have Cole Custer, 2 wins, 13 top 5s, 6 poles, 8 stage wins. I mean, John Hunter Nemechek is the best of all of them, and also who I want to see win it. Anybody besides Sam Mayer. I don't want to see Sam Mayer win the championship. The fact that he's got 4 wins now is kind of obnoxious, to be honest. But anybody besides Sam Mayer, but I'm going to go with John Hunter Nemechek as my pick. He's been the best driver, most wins. After that, I'm going to go with probably Allgaier second, just because he's had fantastic stats. But John Hunter Nemechek should be your points winner out through a regular points format anyways. All right, and now we look at the Cup Series. The Cup Series, we have Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, and William Byron. Ryan Blaney, 3 wins, 7 top 5s, and 5 stage wins. This is not impressive. What the hell? I'm not impressed by those stats. Christopher Bell, 2 wins, 10 top 5s, 6 poles, 14 stage wins. Maybe I'm just coming from looking at Xfinity where there's like 4 drivers that have a lot of wins. But yeah, no, I mean, I guess it's not terrible. I mean, looking at it, Denny Hamlin's got 14 top 5s. Martin Truex has 9. I guess if they showed the top 10 stats, because I'm using the NASCAR app, and that's just what it's showing me. Okay, I guess it's not terrible. I was like 7 top 5s is not great, but we should show top 10s. Either way, we went over Christopher Bell. Kyle Larson, 4 wins, 14 top 5s, 2 poles, and 8 stage wins. And then William Byron, 6 wins, 14 top 5s, 3 poles, 8 stage wins. Could say a few of those William Byron wins were a little lucky, but either way, I mean, Kyle Larson had a few unlucky races. I mean, Kyle Larson is my pick. He's been my pick basically since the beginning of the year. I remember putting a bet on, what app do I use? FanDuel. Put a FanDuel bet back in January or February. Kyle Larson won the championship. So, been my pick all year. So I'm going to go with Kyle Larson. I feel like he's the best driver of them all, and I don't think anyone's really going to disagree with that. William Byron may have the stats on the wins category, but I mean, outside of that, again, Kyle Larson's put himself, I feel like, in more situations to win consistently. I mean, if you didn't get Denny Hamlin in Kansas and Pocono, I mean, Kyle Larson got 2 more wins. So, if it doesn't rain in Atlanta, William Byron has 1 less win. So, I mean, I'm going to put it on Kyle Larson being the better driver, even though he's got 2 less wins. So, that's going to be my prediction. Truck Series, Grand Am Finger. Xfinity Series, John Henry Nemechek. Cup Series, Kyle Larson. That's my predictions. See what happens. All right. So, we will see you guys next week, next Monday. We're going to have the final racing debrief, NASCAR portion. Of course, we still have some F1 races after that with Las Vegas and Abu Dhabi. But next week, we're going to talk about the NASCAR Championship weekend, and we're going to talk about the Brazilian Grand Prix for Formula One. Of course, next weekend is going to be... I don't want to think about how it's going to be. I know it's going to be a difficult race day. I'm not looking forward to it. Oh, man. It's one of those things that I know is going to be emotional. Kevin Harvick's last race. Whew. Yeah. That's going to... It's going to be difficult when it happens, I'll tell you that much. Oh, boy. Yeah, not ready, but we'll be there. So, yeah. See you guys in the next one.